Treaty with the Sioux Miniconjou Band, October 10, 1865, ratified March 5, 1866. Articles of a treaty made and concluded at Fort Sully in the territory of Dakota by and between Newton Edmunds, Governor and ex officio Superintendent of Indian Affairs of Dakota Territory. Edward B. Taylor, Superintendent of Indian Affairs for the Northern Superintendency, Major General S.R. Curtis, Brigadier General H.H. Sibley, Henry W. Reed, and Orrin Guernsey, Commissioners on the part of the U.S., duly appointed by the President and undersigned chiefs and headmen of the Miniconjou Band of Dakota or Sioux Indians. Article 1. The Miniconjou Band of Dakota or Sioux Indians represented in Council hereby acknowledge themselves to be subject to the exclusive jurisdiction and authority of the U.S., and hereby obligate and bind themselves individually and collectively not only to cease all hostilities against the persons and property of its citizens, but to use their influence and, if requisite, physical force to prevent other bands of the Dakota or Sioux or other adjacent tribes from making hostile demonstrations against the government or people of the U.S. Article 2. Inasmuch as the government of the U.S. is desirous to arrest the effusion of blood between the Indian tribes within its jurisdiction, hitherto at war with each other, the Miniconjou Band of Dakota or Sioux, represented in Council, anxious to respect the wishes of the government, hereby agree and bind themselves to discontinue for the future all attacks upon the persons or property of other tribes unless first assailed by them, and to use their influence to promote peace everywhere in the region occupied or frequented by them. Article 3. All controversies or differences arising between the Miniconjou Band of Dakota or Sioux represented in Council and other tribes of Indians involving the question of peace or war shall be submitted to the arbitrament of the President or such person or persons as may be designated by him, and the decision or award faithfully observed by the said band represented in Council. Article 4. The said band represented in Council shall withdraw from the routes overland already established or hereafter to be established to their country, and in consideration thereof the government of the United States agree to pay the said band the sum of $10,000 annually for 20 years in such articles as the Secretary of Interior may direct, provided that said band so represented in Council shall faithfully conform to the requirements of this treaty. Article 5. Should any individual or individuals or portion of the band of the Miniconjou Band of Dakota or Sioux represented in Council desire hereafter to locate permanently upon any part of lands claimed by the said band for the purpose of agricultural or other pursuits, it is hereby agreed by the parties to this treaty that such individual or individuals shall be protected in such location against any annoyance or molestation on the part of whites or Indians. Article 6. Any amendment or modification of this treaty by the Senate of the U.S. shall be considered final and binding upon the said band represented in Council as a part of this treaty in the same manner as if it had been subsequently presented and agreed to by the chiefs and headmen of said band. In testimony whereof the Commissioners on the part of the U.S. and the chiefs and headmen of said Miniconjou Band of Dakota or Sioux have hereunto set their hands this 10th day of October, 1865, after the contents had previously been read, interpreted, and explained to the said chiefs and headmen: Newton Edmund, Edward B. Taylor, S.R. Curtis, Major General, H.H. Sibley, Brigadier General, Henry W. Reed, Orrin Guernsey, Commissioners on the part of the U.S., Hawa Zidan, the Lone Horn, his ex-mark, First Chief, Taka Takeche Hushte, the Lame Deer, his ex-mark, First Chief, Kiyam EIA, One That Flies When Going, his mark, Chief, Ha Ilka Chakska, White Young Bull, his ex-mark, Kayer Kumpi, Give Him Room, his ex-mark, Chief, Ha Harskaka, Longhorn, his ex-mark, Chief, Hihan Wei Chakcha, the Old Owl, his ex-mark, Chief, Wachi Haska, White Feather, his ex-mark, Chief, Tatanka Wankanto, the High Bull, his ex-mark, Soldier, Mato Chaka, the left-handed bear, his ex-marked soldier. Chiamwapa, the tree and leaf, his ex-marked soldier. Tokals Duta, the red fox, his ex-marked soldier. Chatansapa, black hawk, his ex-marked soldier. Makapiato, the blue cloud, his ex-mark, signed by the Commissioners on the part of the U.S. and by the chiefs and headmen after the treaty had been fully read, interpreted, and explained in our presence. A.W. Hubbard, MC 6th District, Iowa, S.S. Curtis, Major 2nd Colorado Cavalry, Brevet Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Volunteers, Charles C.G. Thornton, Lieutenant Colonel, 4th U.S. Volunteers, E.F. Ruth, the Secretary of Commission, R.R. Hitt, Reporter of Commission, Thomas D. Maurice, Late Major, 1st Missouri Light Artillery, W. Mott, Captain, and C.S. Zephyr Recontre, his ex-mark interpreter, Charles de Grace, his ex-mark interpreter. The following chiefs came into Council on the 20th of October and desired to sign the treaty. They are represented as always friendly to the whites and have therefore been away from most of the tribe. Hasa ne na maza, one iron horse, his ex-mark. Tokyo Wachakata, The one that kills the first on hand, his X-mark. Attest, SS Curtis, Brevet Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Volunteers. Hernandez L. Hosmer, Chief Justice of Montana Territory. Charles de Gris, his X-mark.